Hit it.
You know, in the 30 plus years that I've been going to conventions, when I first started in comics, they were still sort of thought of as, like this is like, for, kids, like illiterate kids. They had a really, really bad reputation, even though people who read comics tend to have a really, really good vocabulary and are really smart.
That I'm right.
But I remember, going into, having to make copies before I sent my artwork out, and there was, a lady in her 50s, same age as I am now, what is that you're drawing? And I'm like, oh, it's for comic books. I do comic books. She's like, oh. She was looking at me like I had, a skunk smell coming off of me, So, and now it's completely different. I mean, also conventions. It used to be that it was only boys coming to conventions. The only time you saw girls was when they were lugging comic books for their son, dad, brother. It was always a family member. Lugging, being the burro for the person getting their comic signed, and which was great for it because there was never any lines in the ladies' room. But now it's almost 50% girls, So I think they've gained a lot more respect because of that and because of the movies and and also people love their childhood. So if they see a comic that they had from their childhood, they're much more precious about it than they used to be. It used to be, my mom threw that out. And now they're like, oh my God, I have this great comic. So, what do you think?
I think it took a little work to get here. Guys like Kevin Smith, featuring comics in their movies and going on TV and talking about his love for comics. Anytime we have somebody like that, even the idea that Nick Cage had a giant comic collection, and people are like, what? I think it's slowly got legitimized as an art form. And I'll tell you guys, when we do a convention here in the States, and then we do one in Europe, for us, they treat us like superstars. They're like, it's a whole different experience, And again, a lot of the arts, like jazz, had to go overseas and then come back here to be appreciated. And it's just an interesting thing, because I think over the years people started to see it for the art, and guys like Andy Warhol and Lichtenstein, and it's putting comic art into a different space. Also, when you have these filmmakers are saying they grew up reading these comics and everything, it just, all of that helps. I think people like to see who's doing their books. I think they like to see them visually. I think they like, you guys are sitting here listening to us ramble on, but it's a connection, right? It's a connection. We get to hang out with you guys, and we get a lot of feedback from what we do. And I just think it's become more interactive, and the internet helps that. I think all of this helped. And I think comics, now even Hollywood Reporter, they make movies out of them. Remember when I started, there were no comic movies, or there was just Superman. And then we had a Batman.
They tried to make comic book movies, but they were usually
a little bit. Did anybody see the clip on the internet yesterday of the new Joker? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys see that? And who's the actor?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix, right, yeah. Right. And people are like, oh, I hate it, and this and that. I thought it was pretty cool.
I think he would be perfect for the Joker. I mean, me personally, I think he would be perfect for it, because he's so nuts.
But that little interaction, you look how many retweets and how many people looking at it and commenting, shows you how much things have changed about superheroes. People had no opinion of it, now have tons of opinions. And again, movies like Guardians, which I think are unbelievable. I love the Guardians movies and stuff like that. So it's taking a long time to legitimize. And again, at the same time, we take a lot of step backwards because we have less readers than ever. But I think that's a reflection on people reading less and not so much on comics, so it's up to the parents in the room to kind of keep the kids reading. But it's tough to read when you have a game, or video games. They didn't exist back then. Comics were created when we didn't have 1,000 TV channels, video games. We didn't have all this other stuff. When I was a kid, me and my friends would sit on my stoop And we'd be 6 of us, and we'd have stacks of comics, and we'd be sitting out there for hours. And my mom used to come out and bring us some stuff to eat, you know, treats. But we'd be sitting there reading and comparing the books and saying, oh, this is a good one. And, you know, because it was a different world. Now it's in the public's eye. It used to be when we said we do comics, like when I was single, and went up to a girl and said, what do you do? If I do comics, I might as well have just said I'm a puppeteer, you know, or I'm a ventriloquist. Because they'd be like, oh, that's great, my friend is, I have to go. Right? And now you say you do comics, people are like, really? What comics? You know, how many places we go with?
Yeah.
We say, oh, we work on a character called Harley Quinn, and they're like, eyes light up, and they go, Harley
You know
Quinn?
that character? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Hit it.